All right, go ahead. Start recording.
Okay, I started, so I'll turn it back to you. You want to test your screen to make sure we see it?
No, I'll do it when
Okay.
he comes. I'm going to try to avoid getting on the screen for at least 15, 20 minutes. I want to talk to him, so. You want to change your name to Nate, just so it's shorter? I thought for us to pronounce. Yeah, it's fine. It's not a huge deal.
Hello, this is Christian.
Hi, Christian. It's Patrick with UPCO. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Yeah, so Justin Black isn't going to be able to join us. He's running late on a past meeting, but I should be able to show you everything you need and answer any relative questions you have.
Great.
Do you mind, Christian? You're coming in pretty weak. I don't know. Let me make sure it's not on our end from a volume perspective. 1 second.
You know, it's probably me because I'm talking a little bit low. This is over my lunch hour, so I'm sitting here chewing a cereal bar.
Okay. All right, no problem.
Probably me. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, good.
So
Yeah,
yeah, first.
so, if you don't mind, I'll throw it out there. Blue Nile has looked over several years for session recording type of software so we can get better insights into what our users are doing. Full disclosure for you guys, because I believe in being real honest about things and up front. In the last 2 months, I've had conversations with T-Leaf, 4C, and ClickTail about similar product that you guys offer. I don't remember how my VP of Tech actually got your name, but he actually recommended that I talk to you guys and said that he had seen your product in the past and that it looked to be a pretty competitive product that performed the same type of function. So I wanted to reach out to you guys and find out what kind of features and functionality you did have surrounding the idea of session recording software, particularly across different platforms, is real important to me, and also understanding what consumers are doing on mobile and tablet.
Okay. Yeah, great, Christian. To give you a disclosure first off, yeah, we met with Harvey and Steve Geyer last year, and I believe someone who's no longer with your company named Engel. So we spoke with them for, I believe it was we dropped the ball internally, and Engel was moving to a different company at the time, but we went through something pretty detailed. They looked at the screen, and they gave us a pretty good idea of what they were looking for in that sense, and told us they'll reach out once they're more interested in session recording in particular.
Gotcha. And Engel was a chief marketing officer, and my role is user experience and site, so I may be a little bit more specific and drilled in as far as what we're looking for. I do have very specific uses that I plan for having for customer recording software, and I've used it in the past. I most recently came from Lowe's, and we used a combination of both T-Leaf and 4C over there.
Okay. Yeah, and I will say in advance as well, I'm very familiar with all three companies and products you referenced, particularly T-Leaf and ClickTail, so I understand our differentiators very well, and once again, this really all comes down to what your use cases are going to be to understand how we can provide you to actually deliver the goals you need and not just give you a lot of data or a lot of capabilities that are going to sit there and not be used.
Fantastic. Thank you, Patrick.
So yeah, we do have screen sharing enabled, but I'd like to first, I do have, when you talked about having a clear thesis of what you're looking to accomplish, should you be able to give me somewhat of an introduction into anything more specifically than monitoring the customer experience that you're really interested in gauging with the product you're looking for?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm much less interested in just randomly recording every session across the entire site. Having done that at Lowe's initially with T-Leaf, we found that was really counterproductive in a number of ways. I mean, one, you don't really have anything specific that you're looking for. Two, you've got execs and anybody else that wants to have access in it going in and just kind of randomly finding sessions and then chasing down things that may or may not be issues. With 4C, it was a little more interesting because one of the things that 4C does really well with their intercept surveys and customer satisfaction surveys is that they then tie their back-end recording sessions directly to the surveys that customers are filling out, so you actually get a little bit more insight into when a customer responds to a survey, what they were specifically doing on the site that kind of created some of those reactions and emotions. I want to be able to use session recording software almost not completely in an ad hoc basis, but I'd like to have some kind of level of control when and how often and what I'm recording, so that if I'm having difficulties, for example, getting my customers through the build your own engagement ring process, I want to set my sights on recording, 30 sessions across the build your own engagement ring session over the course of 2 weeks, randomized. This way, at the end of 2 weeks, I can review those sessions and get a good idea for where customers are falling down. Or I might have a more constrained time period where we're in peak holiday season and I'm not seeing my card conversion at the same rate that I used to. Because I've got, in which case I might want to say, okay, let me look at 40 sessions over the course of one day. We've got really good back-end click-through metrics that are all proprietary and recorded according to our business systems team, where I can get you a conversion rate from any page to any other page within our site and speak to some of the activity that happens on the site, but I can't actually, what I don't have is overtime metrics. I don't have those qualifications as far as what's causing the customer to not take that next step forward. Where are they hovering and where are they hesitating? What is it that they're not having a good experience with? On the one hand, I've got once a month usability testing that I've got set up, but I'd really like to have a little bit more insight into what the customers are actually doing.
Okay. For the usability testing, you use a usertesting.com type, or do you do it on hand with your own set environment?
At Lowe's, I had a great six-person user research team where I was able to kind of do stuff behind the glass and, remote moderated, in person, going out to Dallas or wherever I needed to. Blue Nile doesn't have that same level of budget that Lowe's had. So here, I am primarily using user testing for unmoderated remote participants. I do have plans in the latter half of 2014 to do some in-person moderated stuff, but right now it's primarily user testing.
Okay, great. Well, to go off the introduction you gave, a couple notes. Yeah, we do provide surveys and automated feedback similar to First See Results that's integrated into our session replay. One of our big differentiators there is if we want to, as opposed to executing feedback randomly, or maybe to say, when someone visits every 5 pages, a pretty uniform metric, we usually focus it on particularly dissatisfied customers who've struggled in the past. We're able to tag that in particular session, and you can really quantify what you're looking to solve and what kind of questions you're looking for to execute only on a small number that you can really take action with. So that's one of the big differences with us, is we usually are asked to go after a very, very particular niche, such as dissatisfied customers or someone who's abandoned a cart after 4 times with, for instance, with a cart that values over X or Y amount. So that is one of the things that makes us more like Foresee from the other 3 companies you referenced. From a mobile perspective, I don't know, assuming you're up to date with the Tea Leaf, we do show we show zooms, we show flips, we do show the complete viewport from all mobile devices. So that is one differentiator when it comes down to not having a fixed screen to actually see what's happening in its true environment. Does that make sense to Chris? So basically, if someone flips their phone, you're going to see the flip. Someone zooms in. All of those metrics are recorded accurately. We are the only company out of those that does show on ClickTail and Foresee have both released basically, you see finger movements, etc., but it doesn't show the second finger. If you have 2 different fingers on a device, such as navigating up and down versus right and left, we do provide multi-finger support, and we can give differentiated metrics as deep as, finger speeds from the first to the second. Not that that's going to be a very high value metric. So, aside from that, from a product itself, I believe Justin had already answered. I've been CC'd on the emails to answer that for you. We are a lightweight JavaScript. We can be executed at hocs, so very significantly different than Tea Leaf, kind of similar to, probably most similar to ClickTail from that end. And our delivery really is based, as a company, we went through the same steps you'd mentioned of realizing people don't like a lot of unnecessary data. On a month-to-month basis, the way we really execute our software is you send us an email before that month letting us know what sessions to set up in the back end, and we do customize it internally ourselves to only display those sessions. We're not as big into needing a high-level programmer to customize everything on your end. We provide that. We're really more into straightforward dealing with the C-level or the high-level analysts such as yourself. Give us practical requests, and that's exactly what we deliver to you in that fashion.
Awesome. So you would do all that configuration. I would just tell you what I'm looking for.
Exactly. We can just give you a real simple Blue Nile at ourdomain.com. You let us know what we're looking for. We set it up for you. And we also provide, as a company, we do provide quarterly insight on our own. We're shifting. Quite a few more people don't want to dig themselves. They might want to see a few sessions, but they might want us to go after a particular pain point, as you mentioned, particularly someone abandoning usually it's when you come out with a new process for a large enterprise. You have a new process, you want to see how it sticks and compares to the old. So we do that ourselves, and of course we can tag particular sessions if you want to take a small sample. So that's one of our big differentiators, is really flexibility, not really realizing each company is going to be a different experience, not trying to just give you a product with an API and say, have fun with it. So.
Okay. Everything sounds good?
Okay.
Go
ahead.
All right, just throwing it out there real quick. I had something come up, and I do have a hard stop at 12:45 today, so I know we had an hour set aside here, but I will only be able to be on the call for about another 30 minutes. I wanted to make sure you know that.
No problem. That's fine. I have that listed down now. So, do you have any other questions you can think of aside from the intro, or based off anything I gave you before we dig into the actual platform?
So this is something that I've asked all of the competitors of yours that I've talked to, and getting a wide variety of answers. I'm curious where you guys stand on it. How do you guys have the ability, or have figured out a way to kind of stitch together specific users' sessions across multiple devices? Meaning specifically the user that comes to the site on a mobile phone, and then spends some time looking around, and then puts their phone in their pocket. A few hours later, gets home, opens up their desktop PC, and finishes their transaction in another session.
Yeah, in almost every case, we are storing everything. We are monitoring the device, the local IP address everyone's connected to. We are differentiating, and I hadn't mentioned something we do different. We do identify the company, the source, a lot of things that are more associated with high-level analytics products and session recording. So in that case, if someone uses 5 different devices, goes to their computer, and they're all on their local connection, we are going to be able to sew those all together into one unified session that lets us know the user's preference from device to device.
Interesting. So if somebody's actually using their mobile phone on their Wi-Fi, if they're grabbing their Wi-Fi locally, then you would be able to very easily tie that back together on tablet and desktop. But beyond that, like if they're using their mobile phone off of a 4G network out in the wild, and then they're going home and using their desktop, those two you wouldn't be able to tie together unless you had something else, right?
Well, what we need is cookies. I mean, assuming that your site does have cookies in that sense. If you have any common pattern on a site, when a common pattern meeting any cookies or session storage, we do tie them together. So if someone's already logged into an account, we would be able to. The only cases we wouldn't is if it's from an incognito surfing, or if it's someone who is a first-time visitor who hadn't visited in the past. So usually, I'll tell you an accurate, assuming that you're in the retail industry, is more than half we are able to identify in that case. And we do store that all under one unified customer. That's our default reporting mechanism. Isn't based on pages. It's not based on visits or sessions. It's based on customers, where we give the percentage of mobile versus desktop, etc.
Great. And you said that's default, so that's part of the out-of-the-box configuration.
Yeah, that's part of our out-of-the-box. We don't have a separate product. I know that our competitors now have been doing that, a separate product for mobile versus non. We're a newer company. I don't really think that mobile can be considered. If anything, you'd only want mobile. You definitely wouldn't want to have any kind of analysis that doesn't include touch-point devices these days. So.
Yeah, you guys should actively start going after Teely's customers based on that statement alone.
I know, it's just the IBM issue. We're dealing with we deal with IBM as well. We do something a lot more focus for them, but that's really what the biggest hurdles in these cases come down to. They've been around since 1999 in that case. Their technology is a 1995 technology. We're a lot newer. We're able to be up to date. Everything's responsive. We do all the new best practices, but it all depends. Really depends from how few people know exactly what they're looking for, as you've outlined. A lot of companies just think of it as a nice fancy toy to be able to see sessions, and not really focused on accomplishing a goal, as you said. So.
Yeah, in my life, nice fancy toys either end up on the shelf or my 7-year-old plays with them, so I don't have a use for those. All right, so I think we've got a good foundation. I'd like to see what you've actually got.
No problem. So I'm going to keep this pretty straightforward and focused to your needs. First, can you verify you can see my screen?
I can, and for the record, Patrick, you've been great so far. This is awesome. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. So first off, I'm going to run through things. I'm not going to go too deep into the technical end filter-wise, but we can slice and dice the information any way possible from our module. Do you want to differentiate someone who typed in 5 different entries into a form, abandoned, has visited 4 times? We can play all those games behind the scenes for you, but not going to. This isn't a technical view. A couple unique metrics we have, I'll mention, is video behavioral footprint. What this is on our end is we take into account every single, not just the mouse movements, but the hesitation made, the different text typed in, if someone scrolls and zooms. We have the unique algorithm that gives how much value and how much movement it requires someone to accomplish a task. So we use this for the most part for a retail company. If you wanted to say, what's the average behavioral footprint of a sale made on our site? Your objective as a UX professional would be to reduce that number as low as possible. And many times say, why does someone have such a high footprint of movement needing to accomplish a task? The nice usage of this is particularly for mobile. We have a custom statistic that says, basically monitors how dissatisfied a customer is by how often they have to change their orientation. So if someone has to change their, I'm sure you obviously know, you don't want someone having to flip their phone around 5 times, zoom in and out just to make a purchase. So those are a couple of the focuses we want to use with the behavioral footprint as a whole.
So are you somehow incorporating Fitts' law into what you're talking about here with the specifics on the engagement ratio and behavioral footprint? Kind of.
I missed your second word. You said, are you somehow incorporating? I missed the word after.
Yeah, so, no, my fault. Are you somehow incorporating Fitts' law behind this as far as you're talking about the kind of how often customers are going from spaces to spaces and when they're hesitating and that kind of engagement when you're talking about these formulas? I mean, it's really probably deeper level than is actually necessary for me. It's just a point of curiosity, really.
Yeah, well, it's a raw number by default. The behavioral footprint is a raw number. What we would do is if you said, and I'll tell you what we're about to make as a uniform on all of our mobile visits, is we would create a metric that says all Zooms, et cetera, more times that it happens, and the behavioral footprint is this high. We're going to tag these particular customers and give a value for them only for mobile.
Okay. All right.
Engagement, to keep it simple, is just how much behavioral footprint factors and total activity. Engagement just has to do with how much movement. If someone visits for 5 seconds, the engagement ratio is more concentrated. To know if you move for all 5 seconds versus if you move 5 seconds over an hour, that would be a very low engagement ratio. Okay. We store everything by default on a customer level, as we said, so we have lifetime duration based on a customer view. That is all uniform for mobile as well as not. What I pulled up here was just to show you a bit, I suppose, our viewport. It's nothing too. We have everything split up from here. This is the customer view. You expand, it goes session by session. Gives you a pretty simple way to see visit by visit directly. From here, we have page by page. We have the ability to customize any unique metric you want. So if you say, I want to know whether or not someone's purchased in the past, we have tagging mechanisms to incorporate all that data from the same viewport you're viewing right now. From here, I'm not going to get in, you know what feedback is. This is where you can execute on any particular customer for next time they come, however often to execute feedback, or view feedback if they've already provided it. And the footprint from here, I don't think any of our competitors do this exactly. I'm actually going to show this session in detail, but it's showing exactly, it's an aggregate way of seeing what they typed into a form over those times. So.
Okay.
A lot of times when I run these, I have 10 windows open and I have conflicting permissions within our product. I forget. So. I'm actually showing your session from when you visited. I usually like doing this in the company just to show that we have a pretty good mechanism of picking up information. So basics, you can zoom in and out. You can see different. You can see every time a mouse is clicked, it's evident from the click itself. We give you the resolution, etc., that the session was stored in. This is all for non-mobile. When we get into mobile here. And I'll show you how these are aggregated in the same view in a second.
Oh, I'm embarrassed. I thought I typed faster than that.
Yeah. Well, I was going to show something I think is pretty relevant here from general statistics is, aside from having percentages of portrait versus landscape in this case, let's see if I can get a better example. We have a very small traffic under our examples. Let's assume the percentages were different here. We do track that. This is all data I'll show you in a reporting view that's all aggregated to see how often people are switching back and forth. We store the average device zoom. As far as I know, I haven't seen any of our competitors who've done that. That lets you know one of the biggest hurdles you really have that we found from user experience testing is zooming in and out, particularly for people who are new with smartphones who are having an issue, to purchase a product. They're going to abandon it at a much higher rate when they have to zoom themselves. I don't have sessions set up. Give me 1 second here. Show an example. From our actual viewports for mobile, an example from our site. The main thing to take away here is that you see the complete finger movements. This is going up and down, multi-point movement, and we do show it in the exact same viewport, regardless if it's a tablet, if it's a mobile device, if it's a cell phone. It shows the exact same size and it moves appropriately. So just don't like guessing around when I don't have these planned in advance. So.
This is good.
So do you have any questions from this particular view here, Christian?
I do not.
Okay. Other than that, I'm assuming, is there any particular need within your company on a B? Do you guys do much B2B, or is it pretty exclusive B2C?
No, we are a consumer. We're only B2C. I mean, we've got a handful of vendors that we might sell direct to as an off thing. Not enough to merit any particular solutions that do exist.
Okay. Yeah. Aside from that, any more minor detail here? We have the device used, Android, tablet, etc. The timestamps you can play around with as many details as you can think of, and as I said, because we are a pretty customizable product, if you had any metrical request, it wouldn't take 6 months. It wouldn't take a lot of hurdles to get it going. Usually, our feedback for when it comes down to honoring a specific metric request is under a week if it's not too fancy. So you can customize these dashboards if needed. So what I'm going to show you.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Chris.
No, I was just going to say, honestly, I mean, you're covering all of the basic stuff that I need, and I'm looking at the sidebar there. I can see a lot of the other functionality that's going to be helpful. To be perfectly candid, Patrick, I don't see a point in wasting my time or your time. If you guys can, tell me what you need from me in order to put together a proposal with pricing that I can start getting in front of, well, you already said the names, Harvey and Steve over here, so I can get it signed off on, because so far, what you guys have presented to me and what you've given to me as philosophies behind, moving in response to the industry and your view on, how you're positioning your product, you guys kind of have me sold at this point. I just need to get a proposal and pricing so I can say, hey, I've got 4. I did my due diligence. This is the one that's my preference. Let's go forward. So what do you guys need from me, and what kind of time frame will we be looking at to get a proposal?
So what we'd usually need from you, we'd mentioned, I believe the quote given to you was 1,500 ballpark by Justin, correct?
Correct.
That assumption is based on the more and more enterprises we need not storing, that's storing 1 million maximum sessions a month. I'm sorry, that's page views, not sessions. So on that basis, on an ad hoc basis, if you were going to request less than 1 million, 1,500 would be a ballpark pricing estimate. What we need to make that pricing estimate firm is we would need to add a line of code on your site, even only for an hour period, just to understand your infrastructure on our back end, if that makes sense. So basically a load test on our end, adding one piece of code onto a high volume portion of your site. From there, we could get back to you within a week for a precise quote, depending on assuming that you're not looking for any more than 1 million requests a month.
And I won't be. So let's go ahead and end the demo. You've done great. I'm going to pretend like I saw the whole thing.
Okay, no problem.
You can take the remaining time that we have set aside to pull that information together. I don't know if you need me to sign anything before we do the JavaScript, but if you don't, just send me over that JavaScript. I'm going to walk out of this room right now and go talk to Steve and see what it's going to take from our side to go ahead and get that piece of code implemented on the site so we can get you those numbers.
Okay, and I hadn't mentioned the usual turnaround, just to keep things simple. We do custom server builds for each client that's enterprise from a traffic perspective, is in the 5-week range, hopefully closer to 3. So that's probably what we'd look at on your end when it comes down to from acceptance to actually going live with your product. So I can get you the JavaScript in the next 10 minutes. Does that work for you? Is it worthwhile for us to
Absolutely. Absolutely, and the implementation timeline is good to know too. Yeah, that sounds like everything.
Okay. So I'm going to get you that email in the next 10 minutes. It's going to be a real simple Java script. Once again, we only need it for 1 hour. We would like to know heads up for our monitoring sake when you place it on. And from there, it's easiest if you untag yourself. But from there, we'll get back to you with an estimate within 3 to 4 days at the most.
Sounds good.
All right. Any other questions, Christian? Or are we pretty good from there?
No, we're very good. This is great. I really appreciate the time, Patrick, and I look forward to getting the email and hopefully working with you guys real soon.
All right. Nice talking to you, Christian. Thanks.
All right. Thanks.
Bye.
That went well.
Holy shit.